Live from WTOC, the Southeast News leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Well, we start with breaking news here on WTOC Plus. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp has declared a state of emergency as the state braces for a severe winter storm coming in this weekend. The governor did outline Georgia's plan of action during a press conference we carried live right here on WTOC Plus earlier this morning. The state of emergency essentially allows him to free up state and federal resources if necessary. State troopers are on standby and positioned really throughout the state, depending on where the storm hits the hardest, and we will talk more about the local impacts. Really, the thing you should know is north of I-20 in North Georgia, parts of Middle Georgia are going to really be hit the hardest. We will see some, certainly winter weather here. Dylan Smith will break it down here in a moment. But Governor Kemp, as we said, held a briefing this morning from Belgium, where he's actually on a trade mission right now. He says the state of emergency will remain in place for the next 7 days, and he's also called up 500 National Guards members to be on standby.
We are activating the State Operations Center starting at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning and running 24/7 until the weather event has passed. GEMA has been in constant contact with the local emergency management folks, as I mentioned earlier. They're also coordinating with state and federal agencies, and that includes working with the Department of Public Health to ensure that nursing homes know who to call if they lose power.
And if a crash does occur, now you are blocking people that may need to get somewhere to go help somebody else. So we do ask people, if possible, stay off the road, get their stuff done before the storm hits and ride it out.
All right, so the big question here, Dylan, is how is this impacting our area? Because this is technically a statewide state of emergency, but other areas of the state are going to get hit by this much worse.
Oh, yes. I would say the coastal empire and areas down towards Valdosta are probably going to get the least amount of effects from this system. Let's go ahead and jump in there, show you what's going on outside. And we pretty much have one front that's working its way through, and that's what's bringing in the cooler air. Still ahead of that, though, until it gets here, we're stuck in this warm environment. And so it's really going to be a gorgeous afternoon and a gorgeous end to the week. As you can see, they got rain showers up in North Georgia right now. We're looking at lots of sunny weather down here in the coastal empire and low country. So taking a look at what we could see for the advisories and warnings, a winter storm watch has been put in place for basically what you were talking about, anywhere north of I-20. That's all the way up through Chattanooga, all the way over through Rabun County, and all the way over into parts of North Carolina as well. So pretty much what they're looking at here, snow totals / snow/sleet totals, depends on if you're getting the pure stuff, if you're getting the more of the sleet or ice pellets. They're looking at anywhere from probably about 1 to 3 inches as of right now. And then when it comes to the ice totals, anywhere from about a whole inch to a half an inch. And this is like areas of thickness of the ice. So gotcha. That's extreme ice storm at that point. So definitely glad that Governor Kemp has done what he's done. Hopefully he can also help us get more of those
guardsmen and the Georgia Power.
The powermen out there and on standby, along with some of those. If they need the snow plows, I don't think it's going to be as much of an event of that. It's really going to be a couple of mornings of rough events, just because it's still going to be bitter cold up there. They're still going to have the ice. Ice takes longer to melt, so anything that melts could refreeze overnight once it gets cold again. And it's a repeating process. It's
ice on the roads is wild coming from the north. It was, black ice can really trip you up.
And parts up there you get up to, 1,000 feet above sea level. You get up to like 1,500 feet in some spots. So there are elevation changes with the mountains up there as well, and just the hills, that you could be down in a place where it doesn't drain well and you'll have ice there every single morning. Or as you get higher up and it takes longer for that ice to melt, you could have more of that black ice forming.
Yeah. So, Dylan, how are things looking kind of closer to home then?
Okay.
Because the bad stuff, North Georgia, is a ways away. If you got family members, if you got friends, certainly check in on them this weekend.
Oh, no, without a doubt.
Locally, how are we looking?
Well, right now, it's absolutely gorgeous out there. As you can see, we're looking at sunny skies, temperatures 67 degrees here in Savannah. As we go throughout the rest of today, the sunny skies are going to stick around. Should be getting into high temperatures back into the mid to lower 70s with light winds. Really going to be beautiful weather to end off the work week. If you can get outdoors today, definitely go ahead and try to do so. We'll still see similar stuff as you go into tomorrow, but it's not going to be as pretty as what we're going to see out there today. And then heading into this evening, temperatures temperatures cool back down into the lower 50s as we get closer to 11. But let's go ahead and break down what we're going to be seeing, because we've got this front that's coming in and going to hang out with us for the next few days. So as you can see from our temperatures on the next 4 highs right there, all over the place. 71 tomorrow, 52 Saturday, 63 Sunday, and then back to 49 as we go into the start of next week. And a lot of that is basically the setup that we have here. So things that we always look for when it comes to winter weather, Jude, is going to be your lift, your colder air, and also your moisture. Where are all three coming? Where are they meeting up at? That's where you're going to have, especially here in the southeast, the highest chances to see that wintry mix or snow chances. So pretty much the cold is coming from what you've probably heard of, a cold air wedge. I know being out in the west, you've probably heard meteorologists throw the term wedge around a little bit. And
maybe at some point.
So basically what it is it's extremely cold air that comes in right here, as you can see where that high pressure is at. It works its way from the Great Lakes, and since it's on the eastern side of the Appalachians and it's such a cold air mass, it'll just hug them and just completely just ride out as long as it can. And that's why it can reach down here into the low country, and that's what we're really watching, seeing how much of that colder air can make it in, because that's going to be key to whether or not we even see the freezing rain, or if it's just going to be rain at all. If we can't even get cold enough, there's not even a chance down here for anything. Number two, you got the humidity coming from the Gulf, and then you also have those low pressure systems over in Louisiana and Texas, and that's going to be your lift. So all three of those combined, that's why they're getting the snow and wintry mix aspects throughout Alabama, parts of North Georgia, into parts of Virginia, Tennessee, also seeing a lot of it. Where the colder air is at, you're going to get the more pure snow. Where more of the moisture is coming in at, that's where you're going to get more of the rain, and it's going to eventually be freezing rain into more sleet and then eventually snow. And with us, we're sitting at the very bottom of that, so we're in what you would call the warm sector, because it's where more of that warm, humid air is coming in. With that continuously feeding into the area, it's going to be hard for any ice to really form. And that's the really good part about it. But the key to everything is where this low over Alabama forms and where it decides to go as we go into the next couple of days. The European model has it staying farther to the north. That's great. That means that it's going to be all rain for pretty much anywhere from, I would say, probably Dublin south. Like any area that we were looking at to get those freezing rain chances, not really going to be seeing it. Now, what you just saw was the GFS, and that's a little bit of colder temperatures, a little bit of freezing rain possibilities as we go into Sunday morning. So what do we expect? Colder air and moisture moves in this weekend. If we do see some of that, we're not even going to see a tenth of an inch. So not looking too bad. We're going to be looking at some freezing rain possibilities north of I-16. The good news about this, the rain's going to be coming in after it as well, so that'll help melt some of that a little bit faster, but definitely something to be on the lookout for if you're going to be up around that area as we go into Sunday. But as you can see by that afternoon, the warmer temperatures, the rain comes right through, and we get cooler and windy weather as we head into next week, and not even really going to get below freezing expected right now for most areas on Monday, but it'll be windy, and then we'll get below freezing as we go into Tuesday. The good news for it with us, if we don't have the ice, all that should evaporate with the breezy winds and the sunlight on Monday, so black ice not really going to be a concern next week. However, if any of this changes just by a couple, maybe 50 miles in any direction, we could be seeing more snow, more wintry mix, or more rain. It all depends on what we're going to be seeing, especially as we get closer to probably about 48 hours out. That's when you can really get the high range, high resolution models. It takes a lot more to use them, and so they can't go out as far, I guess, is the best way to put it.
I see.
Because they're on a much more higher resolution grid system, and so they can bring in more data and be able to show us a lot more things about what is kind of coming. I know that was a lot, but I've been looking at a lot of weather in a short period of time today. So if you have any questions on that, you can always ask me on Facebook or any of our other platforms. Still, I do have one more thing to
bring
show.
It up. Yeah, the 7-day.
The 7-day, and that is going to be warm temperatures Thursday and Friday. Saturday, Sunday, still first alert weather days, just as we track that chance for rain and the little chance for wintry mix in some of our far northern areas. Then it's going to be bitter cold as we go into the start of next week, and I mean bitter cold. Mid-20s, feeling like teens as we head into Tuesday morning. The good news, what little good news there is about this situation is shouldn't really see a lot of that black ice by that point, if we even see any at all. Based off the current situation, probably shouldn't see any.
Good. I've been waiting for an excuse to break out my ski jacket. Sounds like the next couple of days might be it with the cold temperatures.
Yeah.
Really big thing, because we did just talk for a couple minutes straight. Potential for freezing rain really north of the 16, Sunday night, Monday night. That's what we're looking at locally.
No, it is Saturday night into Sunday morning.
Gotcha. Okay. So freezing rain there, but this is something that we are still actively monitoring, and we'll have a better idea of maybe in the next day or two.
Yes,
okay.
Without a doubt. Definitely by this time tomorrow, we should know a lot more, and by tomorrow night, we should know everything we need to know. I would hope so, at least.
And you could always, of course, check the latest on the WTOC weather app. We are upping our staffing this weekend just to continue monitoring the storm and its potential impacts. We're going to have more web folks on. I know that we're looking at more weather shows and more weather updates as we do prepare this. So we'll have plenty of updates as we do continue to approach the storm. But Dylan, thanks for joining us here on WTOC Plus.
Any more questions, Jude?
I think we're all good.
All right. That means I did a good job.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
gonna go ahead and walk off.
All right. Well, as we talk about the cold weather, there is another thing that we wanted to bring up because Georgia Power says that now is the time to be prepared for any potential outages we may see. Georgia Power says its team is prepared for possible ice and anything else that might happen. Right now, homeowners can prepare by stocking up on essential items for an emergency kit, just like you would for a hurricane. Some items include a portable radio, flashlights, batteries, water, and non-perishable goods. Now is also a time to seal cracks and gaps in your windows and doors to keep your home warm and use less energy.
It's cold. If you open your windows in the morning when the sun comes up, let that sun heat your house naturally inside, and that can really cut down on your HVAC cost. 50% of the typical house, 50% of their utility bill is coming from the HVAC or the heating cooling system in a house.
Georgia Power is also asking for patience in case you do happen to lose power this weekend. Continuing with our top stories here on WTOC Plus, plans to expand a landfill in Candler County caused such a stink. Now county officials say they plan to drop the proposal altogether. It's an open space and the county's current 20-acre landfill is reaching its capacity. However, the county has cut operations as it moves toward closing it. Candler County's Board of Commissioners announced that closure last summer, costing them upwards of $4.5 million. They'll use all surplus budget money to pay for that. Now, in an effort to cut costs, officials worked out a deal with Atlantic Waste to create a regional landfill. The expansion would allow 14 surrounding counties to dump their waste in Metter. County commissioners went back to the drawing board after pushback from residents.
What that would effectively do is allow us not to raise fees for the next few years and not to raise taxes, at least with regard to the need to close the landfill.
The county expects the permanent closure is a few years in the future. During that time, the site will continue to operate at a reduced rate. Right now, it is closed for commercial use. The remaining space is dedicated for local waste. Well, we have an update to a story we first told you about yesterday out of Yemassee, where police have arrested a suspect in the vandalism of a beloved mural. Police say 69-year-old Shamuel Yisrael is charged with littering and could soon face an additional vandalism charge. Investigators say evidence clearly links him to the damage of a mural honoring the military. The mural was created nearly 6 years ago and vandalized over the weekend. Police say multiple layers of paint were used to cover it, and trash was dumped at the site. Investigators say surveillance footage from nearby cameras helped to identify that suspect. Turning now to news across the state, there are 2 guilty pleas in what's being called one of the largest Ponzi schemes in Georgia history. The FBI says Todd Burkhalter used investor money from 2020 to 2024 to buy luxury items like a $2 million yacht and a $2.1 million condo in Cabo. Burkhalter, the CEO of the Alpharetta-based advisory group Drive Planning, says investors would receive a huge return if they invested in real estate with him. Many of these people pulled money from their life savings for the fake opportunity.
It must be nice to own a multi-million-dollar property in Cabo. I wouldn't know. But what Mr. Burkhalter will soon find out is that if you use stolen money to pay for such a home, you should expect your next vacation to be an all-expenses-paid trip to federal prison.
Burkhalter will be sentenced at a later time. Prosecutors recommended 17.5 years in prison. David Bradford, his former COO, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud as well. We talked about this at the top of the show, but Governor Brian Kemp is across the pond right now for an international trip to Europe. Kemp is traveling through Belgium and the United Kingdom to meet with companies who already operate or plan to operate in Georgia. And we did hear from him right before he left for his trip.
So we're talking about growing jobs and creating great opportunities for our citizens. That's why we're going. It's about our people and making sure that we have a job for everybody that wants one here, and they have good benefits with a good wage that pays above the county average.
Georgia's Economic Development Department says European companies specialize in key industries like life sciences, manufacturing, and technology. Turning now to national news, President Trump leaves Switzerland today with a concept of a deal on Greenland in the works. His threats of tariffs and possible military action going into his speech at the World Economic Forum raised concerns among some European allies. As he works to lower the temperature, some American lawmakers worry about the impacts on relationships with America's European allies. Jared Hill has the latest.
At the World Economic Forum, President Trump cemented his Board of Peace.
Together we are in a position to end decades of suffering, stop generations of hatred and bloodshed, and forge a beautiful, everlasting, and glorious peace for that region.
The group part of his peace plan for Gaza. The day before, President Trump with an apparent breakthrough on Greenland as his threat to take over the autonomous Danish territory dominated discussion in Davos.
I think it puts everybody in a really good position, especially as it pertains to security and minerals.
On social media, the president said early agreements on a framework came after a very productive meeting with NATO's Secretary General. Trump also announcing he will not be imposing tariffs on a host of European nations that resisted his push. Details of the deal still scarce, though NATO said negotiations are aimed at ensuring that Russia and China never gain a foothold in Greenland.
How can we make sure that these countries collectively make sure that the Arctic stays safe, that the Russians and the Chinese stay out?
As the president now works with NATO in the Arctic, he went after NATO allies as unreliable partners.
We want strong allies, not seriously weakened ones.
U.S. lawmakers in Davos responded to the president's remarks.
There's a way to achieve what the president rightfully points out we need to achieve in the Arctic without any of this drama.
This is pretty damn stupid. Now you look at what it means going after territory from another member of NATO. That is crossing a red line.
NATO's Secretary General says increased Arctic security will be visible this year. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Well, back here in the Peach State, there are new privacy concerns over AI surveillance at Kennesaw State University. Some students are now taking actions to inform other students about dozens of security devices on campus. Chelsea Bimfor with our sister station has the story.
They're really everywhere.
Kennesaw State student Austin Mann is talking about these automated license plate readers made by technology company Flock Safety. He's counted about 40 stationed around campus and says sometimes it can feel like he's being tracked.
Just on my way to the parking deck, I hit like 2 or 3, and one of them is facing straight into the parking deck. So as soon as I go into the parking deck to park, they know my car is exactly in that place.
His friend, Isaac Toman, shares similar privacy concerns about these AI microphones, also designed by Flock Safety to detect gunshots and, according to their website, sounds of human distress.
I don't have a lot of trust in this company right now.
Toman fears that if the microphones can detect gunshots and screams, they could also be recording private conversations. Flock's website does not specify exactly what they consider to be, quote, critical sounds, but they list car crashes and fireworks as examples.
I think that there's definitely an expectation of privacy as a student, just walking around having a conversation with your friend at a normal volume.
To notify other students about the devices hiding in plain sight, Toman and Mann are hanging these flyers across campus. But some students say they're glad to have these safety measures in place at Kennesaw State.
I feel safer knowing that we've got that another layer of security. So.
Georgia's foster care system is under growing strain. Lawmakers worry that funding shortfalls could negatively impact vulnerable kids in the state. Now the head of DFACS is laying out challenges at the state capitol. State House reporter Abby Kasoris explains.
Commissioner Brose, Welcome.
Inside a packed appropriations hearing, red lights flashing, lawmakers lining up, seeking answers from Department of Family and Children's Services Commissioner Candace Brose.
Are children being served?
Brose told lawmakers the budget line that pays for foster care placements and services is under intense pressure. Out-of-home care covers foster placements, beds, services, and providers, and the system has already lost more than 800 foster care beds statewide, fewer places for the roughly 11,000 children currently in the state's care.
The projected state funds deficit in out-of-home care for state fiscal year 2026 is $85.7 million.
Brose says the DFACS has cut contracts and changed how services are approved. The result, children placed farther from home, sometimes in settings that don't match their needs. Providers fear fragile children could be put in harm's way.
We don't want children in settings designed for complex teenaged youth. That's just not right.
Providers like Joel Lyon woke up before the sunrise to hear the commissioner's presentation.
There has been a drastic reduction in services, and we're concerned.
He says cuts are already being felt. Providers are losing staff. Others are being forced to close.
We have already seen close to a 30% reduction in our provider network.
Former DFACS director Tom Rawlings warns losing providers could have lasting consequences.
Once you lose good providers, it's really hard to get those services back up and running again.
Governor Brian Kemp pushed back on calls for more funding.
We're going to start looking into the providers and seeing why this cost is escalated like this.
And as we talk about foster care, we wanted to end the show with this. Today is CASA Awareness Day in the state of Georgia, and you might be spotting some red shoes when you're out and about, and there's a really heartfelt reason behind that. Volunteers and supporters are stepping out in red shoes and CASA stickers to shine a light on kids in foster care. The red shoes symbolize a child's journey to a safe, permanent home. They're inspired by Dorothy's ruby slippers in The Wizard of Oz. Court-appointed special advocates, the CASA volunteers, are appointed by judges to speak up for what's best for children as they navigate the court system. In Georgia, about 15,000 kids enter foster care every year, but only about half of them get their own dedicated CASA advocate to guide them. With 47 programs covering all 159 counties, Georgia CASA is hoping today encourages more folks to get involved. And just personally, CASA, wonderful organization. I've done a handful of stories with CASA members at my old station when I lived in Idaho last year. Really great group. The people who do it really care about it, and they're always looking for volunteers, people to sign up. You get assigned a child, and you essentially, kind of mentor and support them in the legal process. They give you training. If you ever are interested or looking for another volunteer opportunity, it's a wonderful way to help kids in foster care. All right, and with that, we are going to wrap things up here for the 11 o'clock show at WTOC Plus. We appreciate y'all spending part of your morning with us. We'll be back in just about 35 minutes for another round of stories during The News at Noon with Mike Sela. Dylan Smith will have another update on your forecast. Of course, this is something we continue to track every time the models come in. We'll have really good ideas about it tomorrow, but again, we're expecting some potential freezing rain north of I-16. Of course, this comes in the wake of Governor Kemp declaring a state of emergency across Georgia. So this is something we will continue to track and keep you updated both on air and online about. You can always head on over to WTOC.com for the latest on that. Thanks for watching, and here's Local News Live.